The Bobby O Show.
Welcome to the Bobby O Show. My name is Bobo Potster, and I got a great show with you with a guest who's been on my show so many times, she's almost a co-host. It's Michelle Phillips, who is a great lady. And rather than have me introduce Michelle, this time we're going to have a video that she put up and performed for us to tell us who she is. Candy Ann, want to roll it, please?
Whether I'm hiking the Camino de Santiago in Spain, skiing down a mountain in Colorado, or speaking to an audience, my main ingredients for doing everything is energy and optimism. I am Michelle Phillips, the founder of Key Performance, a certified women-owned business since 1998, and the author of Happiness is a Habit, simple daily rituals that increase energy, improve well-being, and add joy to every day. I'm also a proud partner of the Guard Group. I have spent my entire 25-year career serving as a bridge between empirical findings and transcendental applications. My work as a facilitator, coach, and author has guided tens of thousands of leaders, individual contributors, and private clients to connect with their deep intuitive wisdom and emotional guidance. My approach doesn't fit into any box or predetermined description, but it will deepen and improve how you relate to the world. The ease and fulfillment you gain from connecting with your intuitive intelligence, brilliance, and creativity will lead you to live a life of self-mastery and ease. I look forward to sharing my light with you.
Welcome, Michelle. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me again, Bobby O. I love being a guest on this show.
Well, thank you very much. When you say you're sharing your light, of course, your nickname, which I didn't give to you, but your nickname is The Light Lady. Today's show is going to be about emotional intelligence. And I'm confident enough to turn over the show pretty much to Michelle to let her run the show. Can you believe Bobby O is giving up some control? Michelle, why don't you walk us through? I know you have some great materials to talk about. And let's start right to the topic of emotional intelligence.
Thank you, Bobby O. It is an honor to be handed the reins from you. It's a privilege. So yeah, I have been working in corporations for over 25 years and with individuals on helping them improve their emotional intelligence. And what does that even mean? I always say your emotions have intelligence, right? And emotion is simply energy and information. And we are not our emotions. Our emotions are an indicator of a place and time. So in this moment, I might be feeling numerous things: happy, sad, excited, frustrated, stressed, elated. There's so many emotions on the spectrum. And the key to emotional intelligence is knowing where you are in the spectrum, and then also knowing how to guide yourself to the better feeling emotions. So, Candy, if you bring up the second slide on the common reasons for improving EQ, I want to talk about a little bit about why should anybody care? Again, my work is primarily with organizations, but I'm going to use this time to give you some personal examples also. But just wanting to succeed in life, you might be the smartest person, but if you don't know how to have good relationships with the people in your life, you fall flat. So wanting to succeed in a leadership role, as a parent, connecting with team members when you start a new position or in a new organization, if you simply want to expand your network and influence, whether it be in a corporation or on the ball field, if you're a coach in Little League, enhancing interactions with the key stakeholders in your life and forming strategic partnerships. And knowing your EQ helps you understand yourself on a deeper level. And I'll bring it back to me, Candy. And I want to ask Bobby O a question. Bobby O, have you had any experience with emotional intelligence? And I only asked the question because it was only Daniel Goleman coined the term in approximately 1995. So it's not been a term we've used that long, but it's really important. So Bobby O, I would just like to hear what is your experience with it, if at all?
Well, I have some intelligence and I have some emotion. So I guess I have some emotional intelligence. Yeah, I think it's important. I do a lot of reading. I just finished reading Jen Psaki's book on communications. I think it's important both in our professional lives and personal lives to be aware of the fact that if you're the smartest person in the room, it doesn't make you the most effective communicator. So I am aware of those and the importance of emotional intelligence.
Yeah. And when I work with my clients, I give them an assessment, and I don't even have to assess you to know you're highly emotionally intelligent. So some people like yourself are just naturally emotionally intelligent, and other people just don't know. It's you don't know what you don't know. So that's what do I do in corporations is I go in and I give people this assessment, and the assessment measures your emotional intelligence in 4 areas. And actually, I'm skipping around a little bit, Candy. There's a slide that brings up the 4 core emotional intelligence skills. If you can, when you have a second, bring that up. I'll keep talking while you find it. But the 4 core skills are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. So what that means is I need to first understand, it's the next one after this. Perfect.
Yep.
Oh, go back one more.
Back one. Yep.
Self-awareness is, can I identify in any moment what I'm feeling? You would be surprised how many people don't even know what they're feeling. I gave a seminar years ago, Bobby, and this man said to me, "What am I feeling? I don't know what I'm feeling. You have to ask my wife." So we laughed, but we're a society that's been trained to think. We've been trained to really use our skills from the neck up, right? What do you think? Let's think about this logically. And we've been told not to feel. But the research shows we have 20 emotions an hour. So the first step is, can I actually recognize my emotion as it's happening? And self-management is, then what do I do with it? So if somebody cuts me off in traffic, I'm very quick to spark. Bobby O knows. I might curse and say, "Oh my gosh, I want to kill you." That's a terrible response, but I'm not going to act on that. So again, self-management is taking that emotion that gets hijacked, you get emotionally hijacked, and then managing it. Once I can manage my own emotions and reactions, then I have what we call social awareness. Now I could look at other people and say, what are they feeling? And once I can put my pulse on what others are feeling, I can manage a relationship better. So Bobby O, if I said to you, describe your temperament to me in 3 words, what would you say?
3 words for my temperament. I would say.
And let's bring the screen back to Bobby O. I'm seeing, there you are. Okay. Beautiful.
Let's see. I would say I'm sometimes flexible. I can be stubborn, and I can be compassionate. Are those 3 that would count?
Those are 3. If I had to pick one, I would pick compassion. Knowing you and knowing how you run your law practice, right? Yes, you could be stubborn at times. Yes, you could be flexible. But the one thing that you are more of the highest percentage of the time is compassionate. So what happens with your emotions is they become who you are. So if I said to you about, if you're in a bad mood one day, it's a bad mood. If you're in a bad mood 2 days, it's 2. If you're in a bad mood consistently, it's a temperament and it's who you are. You're a moody person. So your temperament is who you are on a regular basis. And most of us don't realize that we have control over our temperament. We have control over our emotions. If you put up the slide, Candy, how do you feel? It's the second slide.
Can I say one thing, Michelle?
Yeah, I know. I'm skipping around here. Go ahead.
Just one thing. The old theory of sometimes you kick your dog, but no, you're not kicking the dog because you want to kick the dog, but because you are transferring some emotional thing that you can't deal with to something external. Is that part of emotional intelligence?
Yes. So the first question I pose to my clients all the time is, a couple of times during the day, I want you to ask yourself 2 questions. How am I feeling? And am I happy with the results? Most people don't take the time to do this. The minute you get that gut, that you get a ping in your gut, you get a funny feeling in your stomach, it's telling you your emotions are going off course. It's akin to the rumble strips when you're driving. You're driving in alignment, everything's great, and all of a sudden you hit the rumble strips. Those, your emotions work as the rumble strips. As soon as you get that pinch or that ping in your gut, you have to stop and say, whoa, where did that come from? Your emotion is saying, hey, pay attention. You're going off course. And usually when I stop, when I get that gut ping, it's because I committed to something I don't want to do. I might have said something about someone I shouldn't have said, and I feel bad after I said it. Or, somebody didn't invite me to a meeting. I went on social media and someone's life looks better than mine. There's a million reasons for your emotions to give you a signal. But most of us don't listen to the signals. We just bury them and keep pushing. So an emotionally intelligent person pauses, names the emotion, realizes, oh my gosh, I just went on Facebook and saw somebody, and now you're able to manage it. It's not sending you in a spiral. Like what you said, if I don't manage it, I stuff it. And then something else gets piled on top that I don't like. And then something else gets piled. And before you know it, I'm kicking the dog, like you said.
Michelle,
right?
I went to a seminar a few weeks ago, and it was on divorce cases. And it was trying to give us as divorce lawyers some information about, let's suppose you have a client who asked the same question 6 or 7 times. Sometimes you get impatient about that, but maybe if you're being emotionally intelligent, you might say, well, that person's asking that question the same several times, because the person does not accept your answer. There's a lot of possibilities, but it also may be the case that because of their emotional feelings at that point in time, it's hard for them not to block the response they're not looking for, if that makes sense to you. And so the moral of the story of that seminar was, the world does not revolve around Bobby O. Can you believe that? The world does not revolve around Bobby O. And you have to sometimes say, well, wait a minute, why is that person acting the way he or she is? And can I be more astute to what that person's feeling so I can help that person better? Comment?
That is said beautifully, because as a lawyer, if someone is emotionally hijacked, they're not even listening to you. They have their own agenda, so they keep asking that same question over and over again. But by you being emotionally intelligent and socially aware. So as I said, the first step is identifying your emotion. Social awareness is identifying the other person's emotion. And when you're able, like you just did, understand the other person's emotion, you can ask a better question. You can, format the conversation. So again, most people have not been trained to be emotionally intelligent. We've been taught to think, and we've been taught to do. So it's a matter of, I always say, connecting your head to your heart and saying, not only what am I thinking about this person, what am I feeling? What are they feeling? And now that I think I know what I'm feeling and what they're feeling, what can we do to manage this conversation, manage this relationship?
But sometimes you still have to honk your horn at the guy who cuts you off on the street, on the highway.
Well, yeah. So again, think about, okay, this is some great stuff I'm going to give you right now. This is so fabulous. What happens in our brain when we get emotionally hijacked? So say somebody cuts you off, and you spark, right? So your fight and flight turns on. Our brains are set up to keep us safe. So so imagine a purple fog. I love using this example. So somebody cuts you off and this purple fog comes out of your body. You're angry, right? How dare they cut you off? So what we have to realize is the decisions we make in this moment affect us. So an unemotionally intelligent person leans on the horn, starts screaming, maybe getting into a altercation with the person. An emotionally intelligent person still feels that emotion, but if they wait 90 seconds, that purple fog dissipates and it's gone. They're able to skillfully manage their emotions in the moment. And being a lawyer, I love the saying, what do they play? Temporary insanity, people say. I was temporarily insane, because literally when your brain hijacks like that, your fight and flight goes on, all your energy goes to your arms and legs. Am I going to fight or flight? And your brain is not functioning properly. So, yes, they were not in their right mind. That doesn't make it right. And they have to take responsibility for their actions. But that's how our brain is wired. And in divorce, so many emotions are going that people aren't in their right mind making decisions.
Yeah, one thing you have to realize, of course, is that other than death, people at their worst emotionally during the divorce. I've had many a client at the end of the case say, I want to apologize for how I acted. I say, wait a minute, you went through a very difficult time. And so it's my job as an amateur psychologist, shall we say, to understand that you don't always mean what you're saying. And if you can get past, and it's hard. It's hard to do that because as a lawyer, I'm dealing with opposing counsel. I'm dealing with the clients. I'm dealing with the experts and judges, et cetera. It's hard to keep track of who you're dealing with and what your role should be.
Well, you're saying so many good things. As an emotionally intelligent lawyer, you're able to manage their emotions so you get better results. So again, if you weren't emotionally intelligent, you just plow through because you have the agenda. You want to get the divorce finalized, but there's other things at stake. So it's really a skill. And what I love about emotional intelligence, actually, Candy, I'm going to have you bring up the slide IQ versus EQ. And what I love about emotional intelligence is emotional intelligence can be learned. So go a couple slides forward.
It's page number 7.
And I know I'm jumping around here.
That's okay. That's what you and I do. We jump around.
This is it. So here's the thing. When your IQ is pretty much your ability to learn new information. And it's pretty much set by the time you're 7. Your personality set by the time you're 18 might not change over time. Your emotional intelligence, these are the skills and ability that govern how well we work with each other. And this is Bobby O. 60% of your job relies on EQ, and 90% of all top performers are high in EQ. So this is what makes you such a good lawyer. If you are not an emotionally intelligent lawyer, you're just a bull in a china shop. You're just plowing through to get your result, right? You're going for the jugular. My favorite piece of this slide is EQ can be learned. Once you know what it is and you learn a little bit about how to use it, you can really help yourself. The book I recommend to people is the Emotional Intelligence Quick Book by Travis Bradbury. It's just a very easy book to read. And it just really gives you a good example of what it is and how you can improve your emotional intelligence. So again, Bobby, you're doing it automatically. Some people just know, but some people have to be taught. But the beauty of it is it doesn't matter where you are, you can always get better.
I'm looking at the page. I'm not trying to push you in any direction, but I really like.
No, which one?
Page 5.
Let's go there.
The emotionally intelligent person.
That's one before this one, I think, Candy. There it is.
There it is.
So again, think about our culture. From an early age, as soon as a child gets to school, we're just taught that there's only one answer. We're taught to think, and we're taught to look to others for how we behave. And an emotionally intelligent looks to their own head and their own heart. So I always say, what's more important, your brain or your heart or your gut? And these are all signaling you. They're all talking to you. So again, paying attention not only to what you think, but how what you're thinking makes you feel, then understanding your emotions. They're guiding you. They're just saying, this is, you're going when you're feeling exuberance and joy, keep going. I'm going in the right direction. When you're feeling fearful and nothing's happening in the moment, nobody's bleeding, there's no fire, you're making stuff up. So it's understanding that emotion is something you're conjuring in your brain. Managing and mastering your emotions skillfully in the moment is the key to happiness, is the key to calm, is the key to Zen. So when you're feeling anything that agitates you, it's bringing yourself back to your 5 senses. Is something happening in this moment that I should be upset about? If nothing's actually happening right now, you can manage your emotions. The next bullet is
really
comfortable with.
When I saw that sentence, I thought of the movie Pretty Woman with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. And there's a scene where this very intense professional takes off his shoes and walks in the grass barefoot. And that was the way Julia Roberts in that movie made him sort of get in touch with their emotion. I thought that was a pretty interesting approach. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's sensory. So anytime we're in nature, anytime we're sensory, sight, smell, touch, it brings us to the present moment. And we realize usually some of the things we're upset about aren't happening in the present moment. So if we go back to that slide, it's managing your emotions all throughout the day. As I said, you have 27 emotions an hour. Becoming comfortable with being vulnerable, meaning we all have every emotion. Happy, I'm afraid, I might be depressed, I might be stressed, but I also might be elated, I might be joyful. There's no bad emotions. And once you realize that every emotion is just giving us energy and information, you don't identify with emotion. You're not a sad person. I'm just feeling sad in this moment.
Michelle,
and then go ahead.
I'm sorry, Michelle, you have a gorgeous garden. And my question is, when you are feeling, let's say you're on that day, you're down or something, like maybe you watched a debate in a presidential election and you're down that day, for example, hypothetically, do you use things like gardening or something like that to sort of bring you more, use the word Zen before, make yourself a little more relaxed? Is that something you kind of do?
There's so many tools that you can use, Bobby, whether it's, you might use basketball, you might use walking in the garden, you might use meditation, you might use dancing. When it comes to things like what happened, we had a presidential debate last night. Whatever side you were on, you could wake up feeling horrible. But at the end of the day, what do we control? I control that I have to believe in our country. I have to believe in our government, and I have a vote. So I am going to do what I can, but also I'm not going to let myself go off in the weeds and get so upset over something I only have so much control over. So whether that's anytime you connect to the earth with your bare feet, look up at the sky, it shifts your energy. So all these things are tools to bring you back to the present moment. Yes.
And actually, many years ago, I took the lawyer's bar exam. It was a 2-day exam. And between day 1 and day 2, after the first day, I went to a basketball court by myself and shot hoops for about an hour and a half just to get my emotions back. Back to slide number 5 again, if you can, Candy Ann. My favorite, and I mentioned this to you before we started the show, Michelle, is the comment that said, quote, is comfortable with vulnerability, unquote. That one kind of freaked me out. As I mentioned to you, you want to talk about that one for a moment, please?
Yeah, well, as we talked about being open, knowing that all your emotions are good and we have all of them. Men and women experience the same highs and lows, the same emotions, and realizing that the other side of vulnerability is courage. If I want to do something for the first time that I've never done before, say play golf or, I don't know, give a presentation, I've got to let myself be vulnerable. I've got to be comfortable, maybe being a little foolish. So again, an emotionally intelligent person is okay with feelings of vulnerability, knowing that if they want to get better at anything, they first have to be vulnerable.
Is that like when I was a junior in high school asking a girl for the junior prom? I had to dial the phone number 6 times
Yes.
and times before I got the phone number reached. Is that what you're talking about? I'm just kidding.
No, but it is. And then the more you realize that you survive these moments, the easier it is to behave and act more intelligently in the future and to be more confident.
And how many times do we, and I'm sure this happens to everybody, is that because we're not necessarily comfortable with vulnerability at that moment, sometimes we don't do something we would like to do because we don't take a chance. And then how about the remorse for who knows how long because you didn't have the guts to take that chance and say, God darn it, I should have. How many of us go to our high school class reunions and someone says, you should have asked me out when we were in high school, for example.
Yeah.
I was afraid, So that's why I found is comfortable with vulnerability as a very interesting topic. We have, Michelle, about 3 minutes or 4 minutes left in the show. So if you'd like to hit some specific wind-up points, you and I could talk for an hour and a half on any topic. So
yeah, let's do the life-changing formula, Candy. It's the second to last slide, E plus R equals O. And E plus R equals O is a formula I learned in 1997 when I went to a workshop with Jack Canfield. And go one slide forward. After this. No, one back. I think the E plus R equals O should be there. Where'd it go? Oh,
There it
it's
is.
in different. Go there. It is. Oh, my slides are in different order. The E stands for event, the R stands for reaction, and the O stands for outcome. So we don't always control the events of our life, but say again, I keep using the cut off in traffic example because it's just an easy one. If someone cuts you off in traffic, that's an event. I want you to ask yourself, what's the outcome you want? The outcome I want is to be traveling peacefully and not being in a, anxious mode. So my response is, maybe they didn't see me. And when I choose my response, I improve my outcome. So while I'm doing this really quick, we have a couple minutes left. Any event in your life, you don't have control over the events, but you have 100% control over your response. And if you know what your outcome is, you can choose a response that will get you where you want to be.
When we were in high school years ago, there was a saying going around about if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And when I saw this particular slide, I thought about that. You always bring back a lot of different, you and I talk on different levels, right? We're out in right field, we're talking about left field. But when I saw this particular one, it brought back that particular slide because, like you mentioned before about whichever side you were on the debate, whatever, we can sit back and say, oh, wait a minute, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's someone else's fault. No, we got to do what we can do ourselves to help make our lives better and also perhaps those important to us, their lives as well. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I'll leave you with a funny thought too. I'll take it back to traffic. You sit in traffic and complain about traffic. And I always say, how are you part of what you're complaining about? I'm sitting in traffic complaining about traffic. And if I was home, there'd be one less car on the road. So I'm part of the problem.
But it's funny because you always mention the traffic story. That's because I think one time I said to Michelle, you're always so kind and calm and relaxed. The next time you're on traffic in the LIE in Long Island and you have a traffic problem, give me a call. And we still laugh about that example. But your lessons are very useful. And as we have more shows coming up in this series. But the thing that I find so helpful to you is that when I start a show, I always end up the show at a better place. And it's like I had a law partner who was more experienced than I, who became a judge. And I would start in the left-hand field and he'd be in the right-hand field, and we'd go up and end up in the same spot. And you and I don't prepare our shows like I do for my other shows because we just start chatting, although this preparation was excellent for your emotional intelligence. But somehow we always end up, at least from my perspective, feeling better after our show. I hope I make you feel a little better as well.
You do. And that everybody has the power to do this in 30 minutes. Make yourself feel better.
This has been Bobby O with Michelle Phillips, who's pretty soon almost going to be my co-host, but it was great having you on. And you'll see Michelle on future shows coming up. And if you haven't read her book, Happiness is a Habit, you really must. I think it's a fine book. And sometimes I'll just pull out a chapter to say, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. This has been Bobby O with Michelle Phillips. Bob Potsner. Have a great day.
Thank you.